Hi guys, hope you're all doing well. This is a bit of a different video. These are my Boxing Awards for 2023. With 2023 now come to an end. And this has still been a bit of a crazy year, hasn't it, in terms of boxing? We've seen Frank Warren and Eddie Hearn teaming up. Who would have thought that for the day of reckoning? We've had a bit of a crazy year, haven't we? Bit of a crazy year. We've had some incredible moments in Ngannou knocking down Tyson Fury as well. We've obviously had some situations outside the ring with, unfortunately, the dark clouds that's still going on with obviously Conor Benn and all that. And but this is awards for in the win. This is for awards in the win. And we will start off with I got eight awards, and obviously feel free to leave your thoughts down below in the comments when you're watching it on playback on who gets your award for each one of them. So starting off, fight of the year. For me, there were two candidates for me, two standout candidates for me. There was Roberto Ramirez versus Rafael Espinoza. Roberto Ramirez looked like he was dominating that fight. He knocked Espinoza down in the fifth round, and we all know what happened after that. With Espinoza coming back in the second half of the fight and defeating Roberto Ramirez on points to win, to become champion. Wow. The other standout fight of the year for me has to be Oshaki Foster versus Watty Hernandez. This is the way it ended, the way it was dramatic all the way through the fight. Watty Hernandez was 45 seconds away. was 45 seconds away from becoming WBC World Super Featherweight Champion, and then Oshaki Foster pulls out a knockout on Watty Hernandez and stop his victory with 45 seconds remaining for Oshaki Foster. Nothing like it, and that is honourable mention for Espinoza Ramirez, but Foster versus Hernandez, that's my fight of the year. Unbelievable, unreal fight. It lived up to expectations. These big fights never seem to live up to expectations of at times, these big fights. But this one definitely lived up to expectation. Oshaki Foster and Watty Hernandez. It's a real shame they can't do a rematch, because I would love to see a rematch between the two of them. You must be gutted if you're Watty Hernandez, though. You'd be thinking 45 seconds away from becoming the WBC World Super Featherweight Champion. But Oshaki Foster, that's what champions do. They may be using every round in the fight, but they seem to find something from out of nowhere, which is what Oshaki Foster did. Traumatic way to do it, and bit of a spoiler, this will get another award as well, but we will obviously get onto that. So that's my fight of the year, Oshaki Foster versus Watty Hernandez, without a doubt for me. Up next, comeback performance of the year. People have been meaning, what do you mean by comeback? Do you mean a fighter coming back from like a non-time out? I mean, it can be any comeback for you. It can be Teofimo Lopez for coming back into the win, a demolition job on Josh Taylor. It could be that for me. It could be Terence Crawford, who didn't fight for quite a while. David Evanesian for his performance since Errol Spence, his massacre since Errol Spence. But my comeback performance of the year, it's not about a fighter that came back from like a long term. It's a fighter that came back during the fight. during the fight, where he was using every round of the fight. It was quite horrible to watch, in my opinion, because he was using every round, and then he picked up a 7th round knockout. Then he came, then from out nowhere, he picked out a 7th round knockout, and that is, of course, Leigh Wood. 7th round knockout on Josh Warrington, after he was using, for me, he was using every round of the fight until then. For me, Leigh Wood. There is a lot of questions about Josh Warrington, the way he fights. I do think he is a dirty fighter, Josh Warrington. But at the end of the day, he was winning every round in that fight. Josh Warrington. He loves his rabbit punches. He loves the headbutt, sneak in a headbutt as well. Josh Warrington. But it was an all Christmas dust up, wasn't it? It was an all Christmas dust up. The rivalry has now proved hasn't it? The rivalry is now proved up after this fight. I would say there is talk of a rematch. I think a rematch will happen between the two of them at the City Ground at Nottingham Forest Stadium, which is what Leigh Wood wants. Leigh Wood wants a fight at the City Ground. Leigh Wood has recently stepped up to super featherweight division as well. So a rematch might be on the cards for this one. But I think the same result will happen. I think Leigh Wood, for me, would still knock out Josh Warrington even in the rematch for me. Because Josh Warrington, he will start quick. He loves to obviously dull in there front footed as well. But he can use his stamina. Josh Warrington, I noticed. That's where Leigh Wood got the 7th-round knockout. Unbelievable knockout, by the way, by Leigh Wood. Because even in that 7th round, you would have to say Josh Warrington was probably winning that round as well, until Josh Warrington started to stumble after he was kicked, and that's when Leigh Wood got the knockout. Beautiful knockout by Leigh Wood. And that's what he does, Leigh Wood. That's what he does. When you think he's getting beat in a fight, he just comes back. He comes back like that. He is probably to come back in, Leigh Wood, isn't he, in terms of during the fights. He can get a knockout from out of nowhere, Leigh Wood, and then win the fight, just like that. So, Leigh Wood for me, 7th-round knockout on Josh Warrington after he was using every round of the fight until the 7th round for me. Until the 7th round, in my personal opinion. Up next is Trainer of the Year. Without a doubt, there's only one Trainer of the Year for me. People would go for Andy Yee for the Jurassic Park performance and Deontay Wilder, but for me, it's Paul Mack. It's not because the Terence Crawford, masterclass, and Errol Spence. Don't forget the Chris Huban Jr. revenge on Newman Smith as well. That is why I've done for Paul Mack. Look, we all expected for me, I expected Terence Crawford to beat Errol Spence just due to the inactiveness of Errol Spence. I did go for Crawford to win by stoppage, but I went 1 round later. I think I said a 10th-round stoppage win for Terence Crawford. I said it would be in the championship rounds where he will stop Spence in the end. Crawford. But for me, this is the masterclass Crawford put on. But that's down to Paul Mack as well, for putting on that masterclass. Because at the end of the day, boxers listen to the trainers. Listen to the trainers. Boxers get all the credit, but the trainers don't. The trainers don't get all the credit. It's like Ben Davidson. He should be getting credit for AJ's performance against Otto Warren as well. And not just Crawford's masterclass from Spencer, Huban revenge on Newman Smith, which is a bit of a spoiler for one of my awards, by the way, the Huban Smith. But that was a major upset for me. That was a massive upset. Because everyone said, yeah, Newman Smith, it'll be repeated then. Huban Jr., he just doesn't listen to his trainer. And Huban Jr., you know the way Huban Jr. is, he just doesn't seem to beat world level opponents, but he made me eat my words. He did beat a world level opponent, Newman Smith. He absolutely dismantled him. people make excuses for Ian Smith, saying, "Oh, he wasn't the same." But well, I, I think that's just taking all the credit away from Huban Jr. in my opinion. So for me, my trainer of the year is Bournemouth, and it's not even close. Not even close, in my opinion. For the masterclass on Spence with Crawford, and for Huban Jr.'s revenge on Ian Smith. And now this is where we do the upset of the year for me. And I've done for men's and women's. For the men's, I've done for Chris Huban Jr.'s revenge on Ian Smith. For me, you have to say that was a huge upset for me. Look, there would have been a few people. I know there was a few people who did back Huban Jr.'s step revenge, but yes, we real about it. The majority went for this. Went for repeat for Ian Smith. This is the way Huban Jr. is. This is the way Huban Jr. is. Doesn't listen to his trainer, but this time he did listen. Yeah, I mean, that's a miracle. A trainer actually making Huban Jr. listen. Listen to him instead of Huban Jr. doing his own thing. And Huban Jr.'s defence on Ian Smith for me was a huge upset. I didn't see that coming at all. But absolutely dismantled Ian Smith. Knocked him down, was it 3 times? Knocked him down 3 times in the fight as well. Huban Jr. And that was the best I've seen Huban Jr. probably in his career. In my opinion. And obviously, we all hope Huban Jr. takes the white fight next and gets himself a title shot at one of Janabek or Jamal Charlo, which should be the aim, or even a dream fight with Canelo Alvarez, a meta fight that would be with Canelo Alvarez. And that would be a nice payday for Huban as well, because he does love his money. And for the women's, last minute opponent, Mil Yoshida, defeating Ebony Bridges to win the IBF Bantamweight title. Ebony Bridges obviously had horrible luck in terms of trying to find an opponent. It was meant to be someone else before Yoshida, and it's a bit like AJ against Andy Ruiz's first fight, wasn't it? Where AJ was supposed to fight Jamel Miller. Obviously not the same circumstances, because Jamel Miller was caught cheating. While an opponent is pulled out. I don't know what for. I think it's visa issues or something like that. But Yoshida, last minute opponent. Yoshida, don't let me wrong. For a last minute opponent, she was well experienced, Yoshida as well. She was well experienced. And Ebony Bridges was quite poor. And the way Yoshida dominates that fight against Bridges and deservedly won by a comfortable unanimous decision. Yoshida, Bridges was well off it, but this is what we love about boxing, where last minute opponents like Yoshida ends up winning a world title, ends up winning the IBF Bantamweight title. And that's another one that did shock the whole world, in my opinion. So Yoshida, for me, defeating Bridges and Huban Jr.'s revenge on Ian Smith, they're the upsets of the year. I know I am missing out Espinosa, Rafael Espinosa against Fabricio Ramirez. But I just thought I would go outside the box with Huban Jr. versus Ian Smith, in my opinion. Performance of the year, there's only one performance of the year for me, and that was Terence Crawford's masterclass. I mean, Huban Jr. revenge on Ian Smith is another shout, but for me, has to be Terence Crawford's masterclass and Errol Spence to become undisputed welterweight champion, stopping Spence in round 9. I did predict Crawford to stop Spence, but I said in round 10. But I did not expect the fight for the way the fight went, where it's all one-way traffic in Crawford's favour. Absolutely dismantling Errol Spence Jr. There is a potential rematch between the two of them in 2024 as well, which would be an interesting rematch because Errol Spence would be more prepared, in my opinion, more prepared for it. But it needs to be at the right weight for me. I think it needs to be at 154, which will suit Errol Spence, in my opinion, and would perform better. But getting rid of the excuses, he can't deny the masterclass from Terence Crawford he put on Errol Spence, which many people going into the fight will also forget. People went for Spence, people went for Crawford. No one expected this from Terence Crawford. I did say a stoppage win for Crawford, but not the way it went. But not the way it went. I thought it would have been an absolute barnstormer, where it'll be all level and then Crawford ends up stopping him. Yeah, something like that. Yeah, but Terence Crawford, unbelievable, man. Unreal, man. And that was his plan, to eventually break Spence down. That's what I thought he would do. Eventually break Spence down. I honestly thought Spence would have the joy in the first half of the fight. And I thought Crawford's second half of the fight, Crawford's at his most dangerous if it does the second half of the fight, where he will end up breaking you down, which is what he did. But Crawford brought Spence down even early on in the fight as well. And stoppage was always coming from Crawford on Errol Spence. And that is credit to Bowman. That's credit to Bowman, but credit to Crawford as well for listening to his trainer. And definitely the performance of the year for me. Absolute massacre. We sent people wild as well. We sent people wild and put Crawford up there in terms of top 2 pound for pound fighters of the world. Up there with Noah Ione. To knockout of the year. Then I mentioned it earlier, for me, O'Shaquie Foster, the way it came. O'Shaquie Foster stopping Rocky Hernandez in the final round with 45 seconds, when he was 45 seconds away from losing his WBC World Super Featherweight title belt. The way it came, this is the way the knockout came as well. It's just an unreal fight all the way through. Traumatic last round. O'Shaquie Foster, the way he stopped Rocky Hernandez as well, sent the crowd wild. It sent me wild. As well. Unreal to watch, and that is my knockout of the year for me. Definitely O'Shaquie Foster against Rocky Hernandez. It could easily go for Yi Wood against Josh Warrington, but I went for Yi Wood, Josh Warrington as the best comeback performance during the fight. Because that Wood Warrington fight was only nothing one way, nothing like a Warrington win. But the way Wood turned it around, that's why I gave it comeback performance of the year. This is knockout performance of the year. Knockout of the year from O'Shaquie Foster, winning it in traumatic style in the final round to keep hold of his belt. As well. Prospect of the year. A lot of people might be shocked by the men's. I've gone for Abdullah Mason. Who's in the lightweight division. A lot of noise from the Americans about him as well. The other nominees were probably Andy Cruz, even though Adam Maseems and all of them. But I've gone for Abdullah Mason. From what I've seen of Mason, I think he could be the next star, in terms of Shakur Stevenson and Jared Anderson. I really do think that, where the crowd will get excited to watch them. Well, I say that about Anderson and Shakur Stevenson. They've recently been then twisted from the one country fans, of course. So, but Abdullah Mason, high hopes for him. Unreal. For me, he's unreal to watch Abdullah Mason. It was a tough choice in terms of prospects. He could have easily went for Adam Maseem for achieving his dream, becoming a hooping champion. He could have went for Andy Cruz. But I went for Abdullah Mason for me, for the men's prospect of the year. As for women's prospect of the year, easy choice for me, Caroline Dubois. Caroline Dubois for me. Winning the IBO, ending the year by winning the IBO belt, of course, becoming the IBO champion. And that is now the start for Caroline Dubois now. It has to be big fights from there now after that. Get a step up in opponents as well. And but yeah, Caroline Dubois she's had a brilliant year, ending it with an IBO belt as well. And big wins in 2024 for Caroline Dubois for me. Now on to the big one, the fighter of the year. Again, I have done for a fighter of the year in the men's and a fighter of the year in the women's. And the pretty obvious one in the men's, I've done for Noah Ione. In the women's, I've done for Amanda Serrano. It was quite tough. It was tough for the women's because you would have thought, not many have there's not been many women that have really, it should have really be fight of the year. But I just went for Serrano just because he's defended her belt 3 times this year, and she's been a real true model. She's been a real model for the women's for the women's in boxing as well, by standing by her decision to want 12 3-minute round fights as well, Amanda Serrano. And yeah, pretty obvious choice for me for fight of the year. I know that shouldn't really be an astute on why she should be fight of the year, but she's speaking out. Serrano. She's speaking out. And for me, I think the women should definitely have 12 rounds, in my opinion. I'm not sure about 3-minute rounds for me. Maybe you could have 10 3-minute rounds. That could be a debate for the women's. But fair play to Serrano, she's speaking out then to WBC, who are clowns anyways. Obviously, I think she got stripped with the WBC belt as well, because the WBC wouldn't allow her to fight 12 3-minute rounds. Well, Serrano just said, fuck you to them, and fair play to her. And I completely agree with her. I think the women, for me, should get 3-minute rounds for me. I'm not sure about 12 rounds, but I would love to see 12 3-minute rounds for the women as well, because 2 minutes is too short for the women. It's like hard to call, isn't it? And it can be easy to call as well. Too hard to call. You know how it is in boxing, 3 minutes is quite a long time. 2 minutes is too short for me. And the only problem is if you go for 12 3-minute rounds, or for the women as well, they don't have the same strength as the men. Let's be real about that now. They don't have the same strength. And how would their stamina be after, like 11 and 12? How would the stamina be after that? And if they do get punched as well, I mean, the bone is different for both, isn't it? Like the muscles are different for both, but both respective genders, isn't it? And for me, the women's fights should be 10 3-minute rounds for me. That's what I would do for the women's. Definitely should be more time in terms of the women's fights. 2 minutes is too short for me. That's what I think should happen. But I've gone for Amanda Serrano as the women's fighter of the year. True model, defending the titles, defending the belts in 3 fights as well this year. As for the men's, it was quite tough because you had Ione. I had the nominees for me were Noah Ione, Devin Haney, and David Benavidez. For me. Benavidez was a nominee for his wins over Tyler Plant and Demetrius Andrade. Devin Haney was nominated for his performance against Lomachenko and Regis Prograis. His masterclass from Regis Prograis, that's another one, isn't it? That could be performance of the year as well. And but I went for Ione. I went for Noah Ione, who is, for me, definitely the pound-for-pound #1 fighter in the world right now in boxing. Noah Ione. He became undisputed super bantamweight champion. Obviously, just recently on Boxing Day, against a tough opponent in Marlon Tabriez. Very tough fight. That was Ione's toughest test so far. And Tabriez had some joy in that fight as well, in terms of body shots as well. But Ione's is a different level, man. Ione's is a different level. He's just devils, isn't he? Different levels. So that when whoever he fights, it's just levels. He took the belts off Stephen Fulton as well. Stephen Fulton's not even a bad fighter, by the way, but Ione did a job on him as well. Took the belts off him, and in the space of a year, Ione is a two-way undisputed champion, and for me, deserves to be men's fighter of the year, and is definitely currently the pound-for-pound #1 fighter in the world. That can all change, obviously, next year with Usyk against Fury. If Usyk can beat Tyson Fury, Crawford in his rematch and Spence, that's probably going to happen as well. And Ione will be, obviously, defending his undisputed belts and then moving up to featherweight division. Then you end up moving up to the featherweight division, in my opinion, Noah Ione. So, they're my boxing awards for 2023. Feel free to leave your awards for 2023 down below in the comments. Take care, stay safe. So, yeah, and I'll be tweeting all your boxing awards for each category down below in the comments. Take care, stay safe.